move on with our next item, which presentation of the San Bruno Grade Separation Project. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Raphael Boland. I'm the project manager with JPB Caltrain for the San Bruno Grade Separation Project. And I thought I'd walk you through a little bit of the status very quickly and then focus on some of the design elements that we're incorporating in this project. So a quick overview. The purpose of this project is to improve safety at 3 crossings at grade in the city of San Bruno, which is San Bruno, San Mateo, and Angus Avenues. And in doing so, we'll eliminate some traffic bottlenecks that exist there now. I'm sure all of you who drive to the freeway have noticed that. And improve access to Bel Air schools at Lyon Field Park, reduce automobile congestion with the corresponding environmental benefits, and also support San Bruno in downtown revitalization efforts that are ongoing. And so to this end, we intend to essentially raise the existing Caltrain tracks and partially lower those 3 crossings that I mentioned, Angus, San Mateo, San Bruno, and construct 3 additional pedestrian-only underpasses located at Sylvan Avenue, at the station itself, and at Euclid Avenue. And the vast majority of the project is being constructed within the Caltrain right-of-way. There are some minor property takes that we have negotiated with the property owners. I'm going to focus on the big one here, which is, or the 2 big ones, which are, number 1, there is a minor property take at First Avenue at Melody Toyota, which we have already, we've just recently signed an order of possession with the owners. And the second one is Artichoke Joe's, which the parking, as you know, is owned by City and County of San Francisco. And we are in negotiation with all 3 parties to facilitate that purchase, and then also to compensate Artichoke Joe's in kind with some additional parking. So very briefly, the project schedule. We, right as we speak, actually are in the construction of a preliminary construction project for a box culvert reconstruction at Bel Air, basically at Pine Street and First Avenue. If you've driven by there recently, you've seen we've done some clearing, some grubbing, some excavation, and we're preparing to do the actual demolition of the culvert itself. The aim of this is to actually reconstruct the box culvert to, number 1, increase capacity, and number 2, to design it such that it can sustain train loads that will then apply to it as part of the main project. The main project itself, bids were open today, and we are looking for a July 1 board award, in which case construction, we do what we call LNTP, which will allow them to go through submittals, et cetera, in August, with actual construction to begin in August 2010 and to last approximately 2 years. So really quickly through the phasing, this is San Mateo, San Bruno, as it is now. The freeway would be up to the top of the screen. To the left, you would see 380, and that area up to the bottom left was formerly the lumber yard. Right now, it's a vacant lot owned by JPB. That's ultimately going to be the parking lot for the new transit center we're building. Then to the top right, you would see Angus, and of course, ultimately the existing station as it sits there now. So one of the first things we need to do to facilitate our construction is to build what we call a shoe fly, which is a temporary rail bypass, if you will, immediately to the east of the existing Caltrain track. So this would be a full speed, at grade, 2-track shoe fly, all within JPB right away. And what that will do is, obviously we'll have to build it in phases because of the road crossings, as you'll see in the next 2 slides. But what that allows us to do, if you want to hit the next one, is essentially build a temporary bypass immediately to the east, run our trains on that shoe fly, and then that allows us to build a project, as you'll see, where the existing tracks are. And so the construction itself will be essentially a retained earth structure, an MSC structure, and rather than using earth, because we will be constructing adjacent to and in some cases on top of the existing BART structure, we're going to use an ultra lightweight cementatious product, which is a cellular concrete. And so the concept is load balancing, wherein we will essentially excavate down to a maximum of 8 feet. We'll remove normal weight dirt at about 110, 120 pounds soaking wet, and then we'll go all the way up in the air, replacing it with this ultra light material, which weighs no more than 30 pounds per cubic foot, so about half the weight of water. And so the total combined weight of this entire structure, plus the MSC, plus the lightweight fill, will actually be the exact same as what's there now. So that's kind of the concept. So what you see there in this slide is you see on the bottom left-hand corner, you see one of the pedestrian crossings, which is essentially a concrete tube, if you will. And then you see the MSC itself, and then you can see the abutments. Reason we took this shot is, in particular, San Mateo and Angus will actually be relocated as part of this project. Angus will be connected, if you will. If those of you familiar with Angus realize that it kind of makes a little bit of a jog. We'll connect the dots, if you will. San Mateo will move immediately to the south of the current alignment. San Bruno is a little bit trickier because San Bruno will remain where it is. The only real change is the sidewalks are getting a little bit wider. So what that means is, in the course of doing this kind of phasing and this construction of the various elements, we need to swap back and forth between new alignment, old alignment. Well, at San Bruno, new alignment is old alignment. So what you see here is what I call a donut, but essentially you'll be bypassing traffic around the center when you're working in existing San Bruno. And then, of course, when you're working on the bypass, you reverse the process.
Excuse me, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
You said San Mateo and Angus will move, or did you mean San Mateo and First? Because Angus is down more east.
Correct.
Angus is the second crossing.
Correct. It's the southernmost crossing, and Angus, right now, Angus actually connects to First Avenue, then it makes a slight jog, then it connects on to Angus again. You have to make a little turn to get up to the school.
Angus, yeah.
Correct. So what we'll actually be doing is skewing Angus such that it's one continuous street.
So on the 45, like where 7-Eleven is now, it'll go straight over to the other
Exactly.
Angus?
It's not quite a 45, and it
Right.
avoids the 7-Eleven, but exactly. That's
Okay.
exactly right. San Mateo will remain in a similar alignment, but it'll just shift immediately
No,
to
but
the
you're
south.
talking San Mateo closer to San Bruno Avenue now.
No. San Mateo as it crosses our tracks. So the San
Right.
Mateo, as
Okay,
you recall...
well, Angus is, because that's two different locations, that's what was kind of messing me up.
Right, but both
Okay.
will separately be relocated.
Okay.
San Mateo is just getting shifted to the south. As you recall, in 2008, we actually realigned Angus. It used to go at an angle, and then we realigned it to make the current configuration, and we'll just be taking the exact same configuration and shifting it further
You
south.
realigned First and San Mateo Avenue.
Both were realigned in 2008,
Right.
correct.
Okay. I think you said Angus one time there, and that's what messed me up there. Okay.
Okay, I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, so here you can see the construction of the abutments and some more work on the MSC walls. Go ahead. Now you can see the actual construction of the bridge structure, which would be flown in from the Huntington Avenue side. And then here you can see the station itself. So the station will be an elevated station between essentially the lumber yard, which will now become the transit center, all the way over to San Mateo. One note on the staging of this project, and I won't get too much into the high-speed portion of this for obvious reasons, but this project, of course, is being constructed with high-speed rail in mind. However, this is only being constructed for the 2 Caltrain tracks at this time. So what we've done is we've staged it in such a manner that it does not, on the one hand, preclude high speed if they become involved. On the other hand, we don't want to do any demolition. We don't want to build anything that would have to be demolished if high speed occurs. So the main contract, as it went out bids were open today, was to construct what you see here, which is improved Posey Park, street realignments, all the grade separation, the 6 pedestrian crossings, and then the southbound platform of the station only. And then if you want to drop to the next slide, what you see between the last 2 slides is construction on the northbound platform, and then all the tie-ins that would go with that, obviously the ramps, the elevator, etc. So the reason we staged it like this last component makes up what we call option 1 in the contract. And what that is, it's done in such a way that at the completion of the main contract in 2012, depending on high-speed rail involvement, one of 2 things will occur. One is high-speed is ready, willing, and able to follow directly in our footsteps, in which case we will not award the option, and high-speed rail will actually come in and construct an additional 2 tracks immediately to the east, which will be situated exactly where our shoe fly was. So the staging still follows a logical sequence. Or if in 2012, for whatever reason, high speed just doesn't seem like it's coming anytime soon, or we're sitting here saying, well, we were talking about high speed, then that's when we'll invoke the option and we'll construct that remainder. So I think we actually have a slide showing what the wider footprint would look like. And that's with 2 tracks only. This next slide, yeah, there you go. So this would be the final ultimate build out, if you will, with high speed. So Of course, we would have to work this out with high speed, but currently the plan is that the two outside tracks, so the westmost and the eastmost track would be Caltrain, and they would stop at San Bruno, and the two inner tracks would be high speed, and they would in fact not be stopping at San Bruno as high speed is now. If they change their mind, then so be it. But at this time, their intent is to stop at Millbrae and to bypass San Bruno Station. So I have a couple of renderings. Unfortunately, the angles on these are a little weird, so you have to bear with me. But this is a shot of the expanded Posey Park. So one of the things that happens by some of these street alignments is it allows us to do a little bit of expansion to Posey Park. And what we've done is we've incorporated the eastern part of Posey Park. So the part that you can't see because it's off the page would look rather similar to what you see now, which is more of a treed, vegetated sort of park, whereas the area closer to the station rather will be what you're seeing there in the front. Again, unfortunately, the angle's a little strange. Is a series of colored pavers, and what we've done is created a design using 3 different colors, and I'll show you those later. And then they sort of come to a focal point where you can see that tree, where they have some planting and sort of an entrance to both an entrance to the station and then also an area for congregation. Sort of, there's some benches around there and sort of a plaza area, if you will. But it has a little bit more of an open feel than the current Posey Park, which is kind of a little bit more enclosed. And then what you see on this side is what we call a water feature, which is essentially, it's a cascading waterfall that starts at the platform level with a pool and a fountain, and then the water sort of steps down against this architectural ramp, and then against the front side is again another pool, and there's some seats against that pool on the Posey Park side. Now this is a shot from the opposite side of San Mateo. We just kind of scanned in current buildings, as you can see, but it shows you a little bit more of the paving, and then a little bit of the station. Again, it's a little bit further out of view, but you can see the windscreens that we've incorporated with our design to sort of, on the one hand, obviously to sort of meet the peculiarities of the climate here, but also to blend in with some of the shelters and some of the sort of more modern design that we're using on this structure. So this is a shot that we took on First Avenue, and it shows some of the planting that we're going to incorporate, some of these climbing fig, I believe they are, plants that sort of climb along the rock features. You can't see very well in this shot the finish. The finish, there should be, there you go. So the finish is a combination of a sort of more of a 3-dimensional rock finish, and then to sort of break up the verticality of it, we've interspersed that with alternating bands of a clearer finish with a little bit of texturing and color to sort of break up that verticality. And then also fits in with the main station area, if you will, where we've used actual concrete sort of column elements to sort of give it a little bit more of a depth to the structure. So these are some views of the well, here's the station, and sorry. So here we're at the platform level, again on the 2-track. The building you're seeing on the opposite side is Melody Toyota. So you're actually a little bit lower than the roof level of the showroom at Melody Toyota, essentially, from this shot. Here's another view of the same, or you can see the elevator is the glass tower on the far side. There'll be 2 elevators provided, and some of the railing attributes. That one's just at night for some reason. And then just, I just wanted to focus on some of the key features that we worked with city staff on developing. We worked with your staff quite a bit on developing some of these features to sort of work in with, on the one hand, San Bruno, but also we understand some of the revitalization efforts that the city is incorporating. We wanted to sort of work with that concept. So as I mentioned, we have 2 station elevators that are in essentially glass covered tubes on each side. We've incorporated a lot of the drought-resistant planting. We actually work very closely with the city to sort of say, well, what are the plants that have worked well in the city? Rather than try to reinvent the wheel, we used a lot of the drought-resistant plants, but also by using different scales of planting, we've attempted to break up some of the height, if you will, by using lower grasses going into some shrubs, going into some trees, that kind of thing. It also has the very unintended benefit of being very good for graffiti abatement, as you know, for along the wall. The water feature, which I mentioned, there's actually two water features. One on the park side, and then there's a smaller water feature located on a pedestrian bridge that connects to the elevator in the transit park itself. So you'll actually see one on the east as well on the west side. And then I just picked two, but some of the decorative furniture that the city had requested that sort of fits in a little bit more with their vision for some of the downtown. And then as well, we mentioned briefly some of the color texture and paving at Posey Park. That was something that was looked at, was both the texture and the coloration such that it sort of provided the look we were going for. And then I mentioned the variable surface finishes for the structure itself, such that it doesn't appear to be a sheer finish, but yet there's some breakup of the verticality of those bands. And then, unfortunately, I didn't bring an image of the enhanced lighting features, but one of the things that we worked very closely with the city on was, because we have attempted to the extent possible, for a variety of reasons, but one of which is aesthetic, to minimize the total height of the grade separation. We understand the city didn't want a higher than needed structure, so we have taken great lengths to minimize the actual structural section of the steel that spans across the three crossings. Now, that being said, the city had concern that maybe the look of that would be a little bit industrial and that it wasn't something that the city was interested in. So we worked very closely to develop a series of perforated screening, if you will, that has some recessed lighting. And I think the effect, the staff can certainly show you what it comes out like, but I think the effect will be very, very pleasing when it's done. But essentially what you'll see is some perforated screening that sort of contours the shape of the underpass with some lighting that's going to kind of penetrate out, and then some additional lighting just for the pedestrian crossing itself. And next step, as I said, we began construction on the box culvert. Right now, the contract calls for completion of the box culvert by the beginning of October. There is an incentive clause that essentially compensates the contractor for being done up to a month early. And on the current schedule, the contractor intends, obviously, to get the bonus, like any good contractor. And in fact, they're actually showing a slightly earlier completion than that. And then the main contract, as I said, will begin actual construction in October. And the main construction component is a 2-year construction. So I'm throwing this up here. This is the this is actually not my contact information, but this is our public outreach, and we have a phone specifically for this project number, and also we have a website which is directly for the public for any comments or concerns that might arise out of the project. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you. It was a nice presentation there, short and sweet.
Through the chair.
Commissioner.
Does the cellular concrete that's above grade offset the lightness of the below grade so it won't float?
Well, essentially, it's not going to float because the weight is the weight of the soil that was there, if you will.
Okay.
So
gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Is that the number that you have up there and all that? Would that is that possible? Does that go on the city's website at all? I mean.
Yes.
Okay.
It is all on the city's website.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions about this? Nope. Alrighty then. Is there anybody from the public wishing to ask any questions of this? Nope. Okay. Then our discussion is over in that regards. Thank you very much.